All right, let's jump right in. For basically all of human history, happiness has been the stuff of poetry, of philosophy. Beautiful, sure, but totally impossible to pin down. What if we could actually change that? Today, we're going to look at how AI is being used to take this abstract idea of well-being and turn it into cold, hard, measurable data.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What if your city, your job, or even your government could actually measure what makes people feel fulfilled and supported, what makes them genuinely happy? It kind of sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? Well, it's a lot closer than you might think.
So, to really get this, we first need to look beyond the old ways we've been measuring success. For decades, the gold standard has been all about economics, but there's a new field that's seriously challenging that entire idea.
It's called happiness economics, and the core idea? It's simple, but it's also kind of revolutionary. A country's wealth, things like its GDP, doesn't automatically equal its people's well-being. This whole field argues that to really understand how a society is doing, you've got to ask people how they feel about their lives. And this is a huge shift in thinking. On one side, you have traditional economics, which is all about stuff we can count: income, production, material wealth. But on the other side, happiness economics just blows the lens wide open. It includes the things that actually make up a good life: our health, our relationships, our sense of purpose. It's a much more complete picture of what it means to thrive. And look, this isn't just some theory stuck in a textbook. It's already happening out in the real world. The nation of Bhutan famously pioneered this whole idea of gross national happiness instead of just gross domestic product. And I'm sure you've heard of the UN's World Happiness Report they put out every year. The point is, the world is already starting to move this way. Okay, but that brings us to a massive, massive challenge. If you want to measure feelings, you have to listen to how people talk. And, well, human language is messy, really messy. This is what we call the unstructured data problem. So, for example, someone might say this: is this person happy or unhappy? The answer is, well, it's complicated, right? They feel their work has meaning, that's a huge positive, but they're also burnt out, which is obviously a negative. This is exactly the kind of nuanced, contradictory, and deeply human feedback that holds all the most valuable insights.
Now, put yourself in a researcher's shoes for a second. Imagine you have 10,000 responses just like that one. Trying to read every single one, categorize them, and find patterns by hand, it would be an absolute nightmare. It's incredibly slow, it's expensive, and it's just riddled with human bias.
So that's the core problem we're trying to solve. How do you systematically take thousands of these complex emotional statements and turn them into clean data? Data that you can actually stick on a dashboard, track, and use to make real decisions.
And this is where the technology finally steps in. The solution is in a field of AI called natural language processing, or NLP. We're basically teaching computers how to read and, well, how to understand the nuances of human emotion.
And two key tools make this whole thing possible. First up is sentiment analysis. You can think of this as the AI's mood detector. It reads some text and just decides, is the feeling here positive, negative, or neutral? Simple enough. But then you combine it with topic modeling. This is the AI's theme finder. It scans all that text to figure out what people are actually talking about, things like work-life balance, pay, or maybe the management style. And when you put those two together, you don't just know that, say, 50% of your feedback is negative, you know it's negative because people are feeling burnt out. Now that is an insight you can actually do something with.
Now, for a project like this to work, you need some crystal clear goals. The team set 3 big ones. First, accuracy. That mood detector had to be right at least 85% of the time. No guessing. Next up, the AI had to go deep. It needed to reliably pull out at least 5 of the core themes that were driving how people felt.
And finally, the big one: efficiency. This whole automated process had to be at least 70% faster than doing it by hand. That's what makes the investment totally worth it.
So what you end up with is this really cool automated pipeline. You feed all that raw, messy text from surveys and interviews into one end. In the middle, the NLP model does its magic, analyzing everything. And then, out the other end, comes a clean, organized dashboard that shows you exactly what's going on.
So how do you actually build an AI like this? Well, you've got a few options. You could buy an off-the-shelf tool, but they're usually too generic, not very accurate. You could assemble something using APIs from the big tech companies, but that can get really expensive fast. Building from scratch,
That takes forever. So the sweet spot is this hybrid approach. Build on existing. You take a powerful open source language model that's already out there and you fine-tune it on your own specific data. It hits that perfect balance of cost, speed, and you get incredibly high accuracy.
Okay, so we've got the how. We understand how the tech works. But what about the so what? What could a world with quantified well-being actually look like? Because this is where things get really exciting.
I mean, the potential here is just massive. Imagine governments making policies that are actually proven to improve people's well-being, not just the economy, or companies that can build genuinely healthier cultures because they have real-time data on what's causing stress or joy. This tech could give us a direct line into what truly matters to people. It could even be an early warning system spotting rising trends in anxiety or burnout across a whole population before they turn into a full-blown crisis.
But, and this is a really big but, with great power comes great responsibility. For all of its incredible promise, this technology is also loaded with some serious ethical risks that we absolutely have to talk about.
And this brings us to the, whoa, hold on a second factor. What if the algorithm is biased? What if it systematically misunderstands or just plain ignores the way minority groups express themselves? And what about privacy? I mean, once your innermost feelings are turned into data points, are they ever truly anonymous again? And maybe the scariest thought of all, what if a government uses a high happiness score to justify terrible policies or to sweep huge societal problems under the rug? The potential for this to be misused is very, very real.
This leads to a fundamental problem, a real catch-22. To build a fair algorithm that isn't biased, you need lots of detailed demographic data. But to protect people's privacy, you have to anonymize that exact same data. It's a paradox, and there is no easy answer.
And that's exactly it. A single number, a simple happiness score, can become a powerful tool for manipulation. It just simplifies these incredibly complex realities down to a point where it becomes a convenient excuse to ignore the real underlying problems like poverty or inequality that don't fit neatly into the score. So that's where we land. The technology to quantify happiness, it's here. The potential is amazing, but the dangers are profound. And it all leads us to this one ultimate question. If we can truly measure what makes us happy, who gets to own that data? Who gets to see the results? And who decides what we do with it? That's something worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.